are live. Yes, I think we got it this time. Let me do the tech check really quick and just make sure we are live. Don't make a liar out of me. You know what? We're going to do this anyway. We are actually live on a couple of platforms, so I'm not going to restart this, Bryan. So let's talk about, I'm real anal, right?
Yeah.
So it really bothers me that this is not streaming where I want it to stream. It is now. So let's go. Now Sabrina can focus. Now she can like get it together. So we're going to be talking about special events today.
Yep.
And so before we got on, I was like, Bryan, I'm not going to try to convince people that special events is not the way to go, although we know it can be expensive. So we know people are going to do special events, right? So
Right.
let's help them think about it in a different way and be successful in it. So you started to share with me about one of your clients. You want to share?
Yeah. Okay, so let's take, since we're trying to say in things to do, things to don't. A first good thing to do before you start doing any kind of event is doing some market research, where you live and what going rates are and stuff like that. Because the story that Sabrina's talking about is, I had a customer who said, we're going to get our entire budget for our golf tournament. I was like, oh, really? How are you going to get that? They were like, well, we're going to charge $1,000 a person to play. And I said, you're kind of in a rural area. They were in Tennessee. Well, they're not a customer. They were a potential customer. They didn't end up going with me because I told them the truth. And I said, that's not going to work. I said, unless you're like golfing with, Bill Gates and, people who have that kind of money. Yeah. A lot of people, especially in a rural, I don't want to assume I came from a rural community, so there weren't a lot of $1,000 golfers kind of thing. So first thing you got to do is your research. And when I say research, first of all, pricing is important, but also what if, in most communities, United Way is really big. What if, I'm going to have my golf tournament this weekend. Oh, and that's also the United Way Gala.
Right.
Well, so you've got to do some research. You got to know who your target audience is, what their audience is going to pay. And to go along with that, and then I'll let you take over on some of this, is you've got to make sure that what you're doing is attractive, it's needed, it's people. Not your cause. If you're just doing another run, everybody's doing a run.
Everybody's doing a run.
That kind of thing. So those are some of the, and planning. I'll let planning. I need some money. Next week I'm going to do a golf tournament. No, you're not going to do the golf.
You're not going to do it. You might do it, but it's not going to be successful.
8 months. Yeah.
And it's not going to get you anywhere. You're actually going to lose money because of that. And so I'll piggyback on what you were saying around special events and your community. You really do need to look at your community and see what is successful in your community. So I am in the bottom of Texas, right? And so in our area, skeet shoots go well because we have a lot of ranches. We have a lot of, ranges. Everybody and their mama is having a gala. So I tell people all the time, do you really want to have another gala? Look at the space and see, who's doing a breakfast? Not a lot of people. Who's doing a luncheon? Not a lot of people. People are tired of galas. Golf tournaments in my community, for example, a lot of people are doing golf tournaments. Do you want to be in that competitive landscape? Because golf is golf. And if they're no relation to your mission, then they're just going to pick, a sponsor is just going to pick the date and the tournament that works for them. It has nothing to do with your mission.
Let me throw you something, right? Because you led into exactly a great thing where I was concerned. Many years ago, 15 years ago at least, I had a board member who was a golfer, who actually his family owned golf courses, and he was head of the golf committee. He and I were, we had a very successful golf tournament. And one of the things that his name was Casey. One of the things that Casey said to me, and he wasn't saying this to be a jerk. This was like, our tournament was in either late May or early April. Late May or early June. And And he was saying, yeah, it's warm. Yes, he definitely did Texas for sure. And we were talking, and he goes, listen, Bryan, from beginning of April to the beginning of July, I'm playing like 9 charity golf tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what I'm supporting. I'm glad I'm supporting something, but I don't know what I'm supporting. What can we do to make the Boys and Girls Club tournament different? So that brings me to my next point.
Yeah.
Different. What stands out? I'll tell you, I created, well, I shouldn't say, I'm not making it sound like it's a me thing. We did something different. We had multiple fundraisers, and we call it the Caddyshack flight, and almost every hole was a gimmick. Every hole. So it didn't, I'm not a golfer. I mean, I know how to golf, but I don't go out on a Saturday and go, I want to go golfing. Your crowd for the policeman's, group is going to be the same as the Chamber of Commerce's, which was the same as our Boys and Girls Club one. So we made ours different, so it stood out. And the fact that we did gimmicks and we made it silly, and on one hole there was a soccer ball and you kick it, and where the soccer ball lands is where you're shooting 0. Doing just stupid stuff. And I say that tongue in cheek, but it was memorable. In fact, we got to the point where people would call us up and say, I want to get this on when's that stupid Boys and Girls Club calendar? And golf tournament. I'm going to get on the calendar. And yeah, they weren't saying it to be insulting.
No, you branded it that way.
It's different. We did a 10K that we called the Cheaters Run. And if you did these like little mini challenges, your 10K could be a 5K, and we gave away cash prizes at the end. So if I'm going to not do, like, one of them, we had like a cup of syrup or something like that, something really gross, like a big old cup of maple syrup. You get to the station, and if once I drank the whole cup of maple syrup, I could take a shortcut. I could cut off, of a 10K, I could cut off
and have a sugar rush all at the same time.
And you get maple down your, and some people would do it and some people wouldn't.
Right.
But people were like, I'm going to win the Cheaters Run because I'm a good cheater. You know what I mean? It was different. It wasn't it wasn't 5K. And this idea that I came up with to do these things differently came from a friend of ours in we knew her in North Carolina.
Okay.
She did the Krispy Kreme 5K. Now Krispy Kreme,
yes, Krispy Kreme originated in North Carolina.
Yep. And the big thing about the Krispy Kreme 5K is you run 2.5K, you eat a dozen donuts, and you run the other 2.5K. And if you throw up, I should say, you lose, you're out.
You're out.
That's it. And here's the crazy thing. They sold, like, their average shirt order was like 100,000 shirts. Just shirts. Yeah. Not even runners. Why? Because it's still, if you think about it, to the core, it's still just another dopey 5K. That's all it is. It's just 25 minutes and we're done. Or if you're chubby like me, 45 minutes and you're done. But it's not anything difficult. You know what I mean? It's not. It was just different.
It was just different.
That's the other thing.
Krispy Kreme was a title sponsor, which takes me to what I love to talk about. But there's a couple things. You said a couple things. One is you said we did events, and we did a lot of events. Look, I'm going to say this again. The club where I represent and where I sit is an organization should have no more than 2 signature events.
Correct.
The reason I say that is because if you really look at the cost of putting on an event and you include staff and board time and volunteer time, which most don't, it costs you more to put on an event.
And like we talked about last time too, the great thing about not doing events is if there's my golf tournament, rain, golf tournament sucks, over, return some money. 5K, rain, bad weather, whatever. That's kind of some of the things you have to face. So you're right.
You have to think about those things. So no more than 2 signature events. And it sounds like your signature events really branded.
We did well. And actually, here's the thing. I actually had. Now you're gonna shudder at this, but I probably had close to 11 signature events because.
Oh my God.
Well, let me tell you why. Let me tell you why though. Because where we were, in East Texas, is a lot of people when you think of, okay, I'm in Dallas right now, the Dallas area, right? And basically when you're driving, Plano, runs into Frisco, which runs into Prosper, which runs into McKinney, and it's
Right.
just
You
one
can't even tell
city.
which city you're in.
Exactly. In East Texas, and this is true, you go when we're in Marshall, you're in Marshall, you drive north 15 miles through basically a bunch of pine trees because it's a piney woods in East Texas, and you come to Jefferson. You're not there's not a bunch of cities, there's not a bunch of homes, there's not a bunch of business. It's Marshall to Jefferson,
Right.
Marshall to Hallsville. Anyway, all that to say, so they were very pocket communities. And one of the things that we had to do with each of my locations, because we had advisory boards in each location, we ended up having to go and do a different event because each community was responsible for their own
But
money.
listen to what you're saying. You said I had advisory boards in each community. So it's not the same board.
Oh, right. Yeah.
11 separate events.
Well, then let's point out where you're going with this. Let's go one step further with where you're going with this. That was my kid. Let's go one step. Yeah, my kids. Let's go one step further with this though. Too is what you're saying is when we talk about 2 signature events, you don't want to burn out your board. You don't want to burn out your volunteers. You don't want your board to go, hey, didn't I just see you because you were raising money for the golf tournament? Oh yeah, this is the run now.
Right.
And then you're gonna get that donor fatigue that we hear so much about.
And board fatigue. And board's gonna stop calling you and picking up the phone.
Exactly.
So you got to be very careful. 2 signature events. Now, the one thing that I believe about events again is if you your goals need to be realistic, which is where you started off at.
Right.
You can't go out charging. I mean, in certain communities, you can't charge $1,000 for a team. In our community, you could, but that was normal for our community.
Right.
Now, what I truly believe, and I will tell my clients, what's your goal? And they'll say, well, this is my, I just talked to a client. He says, well, my goal is to raise $180,000. Okay. How much are your table sales? We're not doing table sales. We're doing ticket sales.
All right.
How many tickets do you have to sell to get to $180,000? It's not going to happen. You have to know how you're going to raise the money, especially if it's a gala, before the doors even open.
Right.
So with a gala, table sales.
Right.
And price the tables where you hit your goal before the doors even open, whether it's a luncheon or a breakfast, is that what you're choosing to do, or a skeet shoot? Before the event, you have hit your fundraising goal. And then once you're at the event, I always say, and Bryan, work with me on this. I always say have 4 different opportunities at 4 different levels where people can participate and give more. So, for example, you can have a mystery box, right? Where the people can pay $50 and they can get the mystery box and they're guaranteed to win something that is at the value of $100. So that's a $50 buy-in, right? Then you can have a I like to do
standard auction.
I don't like auctions. I do mystery boxes instead of silent auctions because that's just me. And then you can have like a luck of the draw, which that for me is we sell a decks of cards, $100 for each card, and that person who wins get to grab something from the live auction before the live auction starts. So that guarantees you, if you just sell a deck of cards, that's $5,200 on an auction item. Then you have a live auction. That's 3. And then you have a QR code on the table for those who didn't buy a mystery box, for those who didn't participate in the card drawing at $100, for those who didn't participate in the live auction. Then you end the night with an appeal request and you say there's a QR code on the table and no gift is too small. If you ate our food and you didn't give any other way, give a donation. That's the formula that I like to use. What's your formula?
We do similar. We try to make sure everything that the costs are at minimum covered for any event. Like we
Yeah.
brought in, for those Dallas Cowboys fans out there, we brought in Dak Prescott when he was Rookie of the Year. he came in and he everybody wanted, he was just coming off being Rookie of the Year. Nobody knew who he was. He was something, wasn't a first round draft pick kind of thing. It turned out to be the Cowboys starter. We got all the money we needed beforehand. We got some stuff donated that he signed, and I actually wore a Dak Prescott jersey out on stage, which he signed on my back, and then I took it off and he helped me auction it. We always do. We always have an auction, not a live auction, but like a silent auction thing. But actually, the way I do it, I don't know if you guys have heard of these. This is another one. I don't know if it's somebody else probably thought of that, but I've done it before. Was called a blind auction.
I've never done a blind auction. Explain it to us.
Okay, so blind auction is you have all these items you're going to sell. Okay, here you got an iPhone, and we got this cool pen and whatever, and in front of each one is a shoebox, totally sealed. Cut a slit.
It's the mystery box. I think we might be talking about the same thing. Explain yours.
Because what you do is, if I have the box in front of the iPhone and I want the iPhone, I take my slip of paper that we pre-print with our logo on and your name, address, all that, so we can also capture their. By the way, don't be stupid about this. You always want to capture their information so you know who your donors are. So we can capture their email address and phone number, and you say if it's not completely filled out, you're ineligible, et cetera, et cetera. And you put down how much you wanted to, what's going to be your maximum bid for the iPhone.
Oh.
And you drop it in the box. At the end of the night, you go over, before everybody leaves, you take the boxes and you go through and you go, okay, Sabrina said 500, Bryan said 501. But here's the thing. Unlike a silent auction where somebody ups it by $1, you're playing off their fears about how much they want, and you're making them feel comfortable with how much they want to spend. And I'll tell you, here's what happened. We had donated to us a box to the Dallas Mavericks.
Okay.
It included a parking ticket. I mean, you park down where like Dirk Nowitzki, back when Dirk was playing still. You park down where Dirk Nowitzki was. They gave you food. They didn't give you alcohol, but you could buy your alcohol. But they gave you food in the booth. Great seats. All of them with the leaning, rocking chairs and stuff like that. And the value was $2,200, and we put the value of it on there. Our highest bid was $5,500. The second highest bid was $2,500, because the people who won it, first of all, they didn't know how to up it by $1. So basically, what we didn't do is short ourselves of basically what would have been $3,000.
That's $2,500,
$5,500. And the people who paid for it said, we're comfortable with paying $5,500.
Yeah.
This is what we want. Whereas, and so more money came to
us like that, Bryan,
as a charity. So we would do that because it maximizes. I think like I said, it maximizes what you're going to get, as opposed to people upping everything by it. Sabrina likes this pen, and she'll be standing right over there in the corner, and she'll see me go, pen, $10, and then she'll come over and go $11, and I'll come back and look and go, Sabrina put 11. Okay, I'm going to put 12.
Yeah, no.
So instead of just doing that little sniping kind of one at a time thing, you're bumping it big to what you're, and the other part is
what you're willing to pay. Your win,
what you're comfortable with.
What you're comfortable with. I like it. How many items did you have? Like, is there a good number?
40. Here's another thing you can do, by the way, and I'll throw this out too with auctions. There's plenty, especially in Texas. I've got really great connections in Texas of auction houses, and a lot of times what they do, and if you're talking about setting things up and making it low maintenance, they'll interview you, because people I always dealt with, they said, okay, where are you doing it? What do you need? I'll be like, okay, these are golfers, so anything you have with Tiger Woods or Rory McIlroy or something like that. There are a lot of them who are playing in this year's tournaments are from Texas A&M or UT or whatever. So if you had some of those, a signed jersey from somebody from UT.
Oh, where you get it on consignment and then you pay.
Well, they actually come, and the way they do it is they just get 50%. They'll be there. Their people,
someone like that before.
Their people come. Their people will say, okay, at the end of the auction, they'll be okay. Sabrina won this one for $1,000, and Bryan won this one for $500, and Noah won this one for $13,000, whatever. Right. And then they'll say, according to their records, and I sign off on it at the end of the golf tournament. I'll look at it and they say, okay, you sold $13,000 worth of stuff. You owe us $6,500.
Right. I will caution on this. Probably need to get your recommendation. I have used an auction house like that before, and they did come down. but they weren't able to deliver on everything that they.
Oh, they brought everything. Our
Yeah.
people brought everything.
I would love to know who your guy is, but you did say something, and I want to capture what you said as we wrap up this conversation, because I think this is the important part of special events. You said we capture their information on the bid tickets, because we both know, we want to share it with the people, the point of a special event is to follow up with the guest afterwards. All of those people who come to your event, you need to have a plan to follow up with them,
to cultivate them.
Cultivate them. It's not just about having them come to the event, because let's be honest, in my community, and Bryan can share in his experience, but in my experience, it's been a bank or a company will sponsor. Let's take a bank, for example, will sponsor a table at an event. And if you don't have a conversation with them about, look, we need you to fill this table with people who will, spend money at the live. I have this conversation, spend money at the live auction and do all those things. If you don't have that conversation, what they will wind up doing is just reaching out. And I'm not saying this in a disrespectful way, but they'll reach out to the tellers to fill that table. And tellers are not going to spend thousands of dollars.
You're not your big donors.
They're not your big donors. And so you need to understand that you have to follow up. Even if they are tellers sitting at that table.
Hope you had a good time. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
You never know, even though, and I know where you're going with where you're talking about the tellers, because tellers are not, paid like a loan officer. They're not at that level yet.
But you can still nurture those tellers.
They could be,
they could be connected to somebody in the community.
Well, shoot,
family or themselves.
Get 10 of those on a recurring $25 a month, and that's $3,000.
Right.
Something like that. So that can be your next board member, your next champion for your next event. So you never know who you're going to reach out to and who's going to, heed the call and be an impactful for you. So to summarize, let's go back real fast, and I'll just say my thoughts. You always you do these events so you can make some money. You definitely don't want to lose money, but you also want to make sure that it's marketing. You want people to know that your mission. Here's what we're doing, not just, hey, we're a Boys and Girls Club, and what do you do? Oh, good things for kids. Well, no kidding. We all know that Boys and Girls Clubs are good things, but get down to the nitty gritty of what you do.
Yeah,
that's the important thing. But if you're in quick money, the two things that always drive me crazy when people say that I need quick money. I either need a grant or I'm doing an event, and neither of those.
Neither one of those are quick money.
Do a peer-to-peer campaign, and that kind of thing. That's where you'll learn how to bring in some quick money for your organization while raising awareness.
Right. No. Yeah. A special event is not a quick thing if you do it right.
If you do it right. I usually start from mine. Mine are usually 8 months to a year out. Just so anybody out there, I mean, can you do a golf tournament in 4 months? Yeah, but it's not going to be nearly as big. You're not going to, you're not going to have time to market. You might not sell out all your golfer spots, things like that. Yep. That's what you have to think about, is doing something good that's representative of your organization. You don't want to do it half-assed. That's
you do not. And take this from Sabrina and Bryan. We have over 50 years of collective experience.
Half a decade. I mean, half a century.
Half a decade is what it's half a century. It's that we have over a half a century of experience in doing special events. So please understand that we're not making this up, and we're sharing everything that we've kind of learned on this journey with you, so that you don't have to make those mistakes. And not only are we sharing it, we're going to be sharing it more and in depth at our Build a Thriving Nonprofit Summit that's happening on November the 6th.
I think I found a topic for our S&B masterclass. That we could definitely talk about how to structure and what to.
Especially, I'm being very serious. So we're going to be delving. we have a surprise as we get into the conference, but come to this conference because Bryan is going to be sharing his experience with grant writing. He's talking about how to get grant ready and resource development, because everything is not grant writing. There's
No.
so many sources of funding outside of grants, outside of special events. So we're going to be sharing that. I'll be talking about boards because I absolutely love boards, but I understand but I understand some people are challenged by that. And so we're just excited about it. So we're inviting you to join us. If you have not signed up, it is free to sign up. And of course, as always, there's an opportunity to upgrade to the VIP where you'll get a swag bag. And one of the things that I'm really excited about in the swag bag, since we do have Bryan, is that Bryan has graciously said that he would write a $25,000 grant for an organization that is a part of that swag bag. So that is really, really cool. So thank you for that. And with that, Bryan, I think that is our time for today.
1 minute over. We've done well.
We did well. So thank you. Bye-bye, guys.
See ya.